We're going to basically spend this week learning some functionality of our camera application, some of the basic techniques for kind of getting the best quality out of our device. The best way to do that, maybe the most fun way to do that, is to apply these tips to portrait photography. So in this unit, you can take a picture of yourself, sort of an advanced self-portrait, and I'll walk you through the techniques how to do that. But you can also find a willing participant that is willing to model for these submissions this week. So let's get out our device, and we're going to go over the technical tips first. So the first technical tip is going to be on the lenses that we have on our device. You can see that there are two lenses, one's on the front, one's on the back. You want to use the lens that's on the back side of your camera, the one that is opposite the screen. And that is because that lens is larger. It's also designed to take better quality images. So we want to use that for taking pictures. The screen side lens is a perfectly good lens for video chat, but it produces a lower quality image. So for that reason, you want to try to use the lens on the back side of your device. So our second technical tip is to change our camera mode to portrait mode. So what you're going to do is go down to the modes here and just switch this to portrait mode. Now what the portrait mode does is blurs the background while keeping your subject's face in focus. And this is Apple's version of what's called shallow field of view. Apple calls this edge detection software, but basically it's replicating what a digital camera would do, which is basically to keep one distance from the camera, like a shallow distance from the camera, very sharp, very in focus, and then everything else behind it would be blurry. And this is a really cool effect when you're trying to draw emphasis to your subject's face. So we want to leave it on portrait mode for this reason. You will also have a couple options to change the filter when you are in portrait mode. You'll notice that we have this natural light, which is self-explanatory. It's this, it's a natural light setting. And then there's studio light, and that is sort of eliminates shadows and brightness on the subject's face a bit. And then contour light will create this shadow outline around your subject's face. So you have a couple options here. The last thing is using the timer. Now, if you're shooting a picture of somebody else, if you've got a model for this, you will not need to use your timer. However, if you are taking pictures of yourself, you will not be able to use selfies, that sort of extended arm picture. We want to start to take pictures by using the timer. So what you're going to do is you will need to find a way to hold your camera steady for this. If you don't have a tripod, I'll show you a couple clips of how to do that. And then you'll find that a timer allows you more time to pose, and that's kind of nice as well. So when we're talking about image quality, we're not necessarily talking about the settings that we're applying to our device. We're actually talking about the decisions that you're going to make as a photographer that will improve composition. So again, these are composition steps, things that improve image quality. We're going to be talking about lighting and background. We're going to be talking about the distance that you want to keep between the lens and the subject. We're going to talk a little bit about camera angles when it comes to portraits and the head positioning that you might want to apply to your subject. Then we're going to probably close it out with some camera holding positions. And so let's get into lighting and background first. Once you have all the settings that you want inside of your camera, you think that you're all ready to go on the technical side. Finding the best lighting is really the first step. The background is really important too, but finding the best lighting has got to be #1 priority. A lot of variables will change during your process, but the one thing you do not want to change, the thing you want to control the most, is going to be the lighting in the background. So that's your first step. This can be found inside or outside a house. It doesn't really matter where you are. What we want is even light that illuminates the whole face and keeps down on the shadows. So we do not want shadows casted across our face. And for this, we want to make sure that we are actually avoiding the cardinal rule, which is to never place our subject in direct light. If you place your subject in direct light, you will get an overexposed areas on the face. You will also see dark shadows under the features of your subject's face. And not only is this sort of lazy photography, these shadows are really hard to fix in post-processing. So just be aware of the lighting all the time. So the next thing that we're going to talk about that has to do with image quality and composition is called filling the frame. And this really is the distance that we keep between the subject and our camera. And this distance is actually going to make a big impact on our image quality. When we are taking pictures of people, when we're doing portrait photography, we want to fill the frame to a certain percentage. Meaning that if I'm filling the frame 50% subject, that means that 50% of my frame is going to be the subject, and 50% of the frame is going to be a landscape or maybe a theme, part of a car, whatever story I'm telling in the frame. So that's a 50-50. There's also 75% fill frame, and this means that I'm filling the frame with 75% subject. And you'll probably see, background behind the subject's head and shoulders. Now, when we're shooting a 100% fill frame, that means that you're probably going to cut off the top of your subject's head, and you're going to focus all your attention on the subject's facial expression. And this is a really cool technique as well. So the reason I'm telling you these 3 percentages is because you are going to have to produce these 3 percentages in this week's challenge. So you're going to need a 50-50, you're going to need a 75% fill frame, and you're going to actually need another picture where you're filling 100% of the frame with your subject a certain way. So let's talk about camera angles first. You want to keep your camera at eye level, especially when we're getting really close to our subject. Now again, you can put it slightly above eye level, maybe at the eyebrow, if you're talking about a 50% fill frame. But for the most part, guys, try to concentrate and focus on your subject's eye. So the next thing we're going to go over when it comes to image quality is going to be the camera holding positions. Now there are 2 holding positions. All of us have used these positions. There's the horizontal holding position. This is where you have your display screen sort of wider, and this is the most common way to take pictures. The other is the vertical position, which has the same dimensions as the horizontal position. It's just rotating your device 180 degrees. You can see that all your settings will sort of resituate, and you can also take vertical pictures. Now, you're going to want to experiment with both of these positions on a regular basis. Both of these frames produce differences in balance and emphasis. You also are going to want to tell your subject to keep their chin up. These are mostly going to be headshots. We want to eliminate wrinkles and shadows below the chin. So tell them to keep their chin up. Again, we're going to get into all these tips again, and we're going to show you some more examples and how to use them before we get into the challenge. And that's going to be it for our intro, you guys. Thanks for hanging in there the whole time. Try to answer the multiple choices below, and I will see you in the next video.